Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything to those of you that are joining us today. My name is Jason Weiss, and you are here on the every other week Ask Jason Weiss show. And let me just get this out of the way right now. Although I am an attorney, although I am a coach and a consultant, nothing said today is legal advice. This is purely for entertainment purposes, purely for education purposes, and you have not hired me as an attorney. There is no attorney-client privilege. Nothing I say is legal advice. If you need legal advice, financial advice, or anything like that, please consult an advisor or an attorney or someone else directly so that you can have that. So, as many people know or may not know, when you are in the legal industry, there are opportunities for changes in your career path, changes in where you're at, and just changes in general. And a lot of times, people don't know where to go or what to do to have those changes. And we are very fortunate as a profession to have some professionals and unfortunately some non-professionals, but we're only going to deal with the professionals today on legal recruiting. So legal recruiting is something that is not unique to the world or unique to the legal field, but how it is handled in the legal industry is ever changing, ever growing, and something that we want to focus on. So today we have a 2-for-1 special. We have Marko Evans, who I've probably known for probably 20 years, and I've worked with him over the 20 years. And we have his partner in crime and in business, Ryan, here as well. And they are legal recruiters, and they work for all of the above, a company called Now Hiring You. And I will allow Marko to tell you a little bit at what is Now Hiring You, and then we're going to go into the rapid fire questions like I always do. So Marko, sharp as always. Love how Ryan is sharp as well. So you two look great. Here's me in my t-shirt like normal. But hey, this is all about you. So Marko, tell us a little bit about what you've done in the legal recruiting space, and where you see things at currently.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for such a great introduction. Like in any industry, when I started this company in 2002, businesses morph, they change. There are things that happen. There are things that are modified and evolve. And that's really what happened. I didn't start as a legal recruiter. You just kind of fall into it. And, although we think of ourselves as legal recruiters, we're really recruiters in general, Jason. And the market right now, and what I encourage all hiring entities, whether you're a managing partner or you're a hiring manager, HR, I encourage all people that are in the hiring level to be cognizant of what the latest trends are and what you can do to not only ensure that you're hiring the right people, but keeping the right people.
And how, without giving away trade secrets and without giving away, secrets of your industry, how do you suggest generically people keep their good talent and their people? Like maybe a bone or two. Don't give away the secret sauce, but maybe a little taste.
Jason, I'm very fond of a French pastry called the croissant. We all know what a croissant is, right? What's it made up of? It's flour and water and 2 or 3 other ingredients. But can I make a croissant? I can't, but I certainly know what goes into it. And our industry is no different. You have to advertise. You have to make people feel part of the process. You have to onboard correctly. If you want to keep people, the one word, if you were really to distill it down into one word, and I talked to the Florida Lawyers Network and gave a presentation about this before. If you want to really distill it down to one single word of what you can do to keep your staff, it's flexibility. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants to, tell you have to be here 5 days a week. God forbid there's a doctor's appointment or something's going on with the vet and your dog. They want the ability. He, she wants the ability. Partner, paralegal, or associate wants the ability to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Jason, hey, boss, I gotta come in late this morning. Is that a problem?" And the response, old school, was absolutely not. I need to be you. I need you in your seat at 8:30. But in today's reality, you have to be flexible. You have to encourage your people to have a balance, and you have to say, "Sure, what time do you think you'll be in? Is 1 o'clock okay? Good luck with your dog. Good luck with your son taking him to school. I'm sorry you have a flat tire." And get them to commit to when they'll come in. And that's what people really like to hear. They want to be encouraged, and they want you to have flexibility.
Now, let me ask you, do you think that because we had this whole COVID and everybody was remote and everybody was work from home, where do you think the industry is going with, everybody come back to the office, or are we more of a hybrid, or, hey, if you're working out of your house, stay at home? Like, where do you see the legal industry going with that?
Oh, Ryan, I want to let you take that one because I know you're very opinionated on it.
Yes, I was going to follow up with what Marco said with the terminology flexibility. In my mind, flexibility does not mean remote. A lot of organizations, and I'm one of them, I believe being an office environment for the majority of the population does create a better culture, does create a better working environment. A lot of people that tell me that I'm 100% better worker, when I'm remote. I work later. I do this and that. But you're doing different things throughout the day. So I'm a strong advocate of in-office environment. But when Marco means flexibility, it doesn't mean, constant remote. It doesn't mean, 3-4 days set. It means having the ability to work remote if on that day it's going to better accommodate your schedule. Not every single day, but throughout the time being, if you know that your culture and cultural environment states that you can go take a doctor's appointment, it's not going to come out of your PTO because it's only going to be 3 hours, or you can go run a couple errands throughout the day and come back. That is going to create a more profound cultural environment, and it's going to appease a lot of these people that worked completely remote throughout the pandemic. But we see a lot of people want to get back to the offices, want that culture. I speak with a lot of younger generations that did have the first couple of years of their life remote, or finishing up college remote, and they go, "Well, it was great. It was great." But I don't think you get the mentorship. I don't think you get the surroundings. Now, granted, you have a 15, 20-year attorney that, yeah, they can work remote. And they say, well, yeah, I work remote, this and that. But how do you put that upon your associates to work remote or work in office when you're constantly, out of the office? How do you give them mentorship if they're in the office and you're not? So
Ryan has a great
that's really all
story.
around.
You have a great story. I'd love for you to share it. The younger lawyer that kind of gave you two perspectives. You remember that one? Said she wanted the work-life balance and she wanted to work remote, but she wanted mentorship. Talk about
Right.
that
And
for a second.
and I'll jump in. I mean, from from mentorship to having people that I work with, and being part of legal teams and all of that, there is a balance that needs to be there. I know one client that I work with, it requires their people, their backbone, to be there 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Every Tuesday, every Wednesday, you need to be there. You want to go ahead and have your doctor's appointment? Make it on a Monday, make it on a Thursday, make it on a Friday, make it on the weekend. It's there. I know some other places that require 1 day a week in the office. I know others that say you must be in the office 10 working days a month. You want to figure those out. Here's the calendar, because you're going to share, your office with Sally, and the two of you are going to, interact, something along those lines. I think how I run my life and how I run business and do all of that, I like to be accountable. And when I say that, to me, it's a two-way street of accountability. The perfect example with my wife and my son who drives. When I go to an event, I text saying, "Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm in the car. I'm on my way home. Hey, I'm going to be a little bit later. Hey, I'm stuck in traffic." Communication is key. So I expect that from my son as well. Dad, I'm at the field. Dad, I finished my lesson. Dad, I'm at school. Same thing with my wife. So I feel if it's a two-way street, it's great, right? I don't know if I want to be in an office, me personally, every single day. Why would I have all of my people be in every day? But if I'm going to be in there 3 days a week, and I think it's important for me to meet with the rest of the team, then I'm going to want them in at least 2 of those 3 days. Let's do it.
Well, as I said, you have more experience as an attorney, but there's something to be said about being able to walk down the hall, knock on a door, have the open door policy, and have the associate walk in and say, I have a question for you.
Yep.
It might be a question. It could be a very simple question. It could be something that's going to take a couple seconds that they don't want to make that phone call or jump on a Zoom for 2 minutes to ask that question. They're like, I don't know if it's more easily to be able to say and ask an idiotic question in person that you don't know than it is to call somebody up.
Yep.
It's because you could say it in passing. You can ask that question in passing. You could be walking down the hall and just be like, I have a quick question for you. On this, I got a quick question on this drafting. Can you just take a quick look at it? It's not sending back and forth and waiting. It could, like I said, it could be somebody drafting and just how do you like this verbiage?
It's also sometimes the mindset of the people involved, right? If you're standing in the kitchen drinking a cup of coffee or a soft drink, and it's, hey, I just want to, what do you think of this sentence? Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Like, where do you think I should put the comma, or is a comma needed, right? You'll stand there and you might think about it for 3 or 4 minutes, and you might have a good conversation, and the client never gets billed for it, which clients are very happy. But if I were to go ahead and send the email, it's a 0.1 to send the email, a 0.1 to review the email, a 0.1 to talk about it after. And now the client's getting a $150 bill over where do you put a comma, because everybody's sitting in front of their computer and working.
And there's also a lot of lost time there.
A ton. And getting a $150 bill, that's not accounting for all of your time. You're also not creating that camaraderie.
Yeah, I will give you one example of a client that has made remote working very, very effective, and I thought it was genius. We all know what Teams is, Microsoft Teams. He leaves everybody, 21 people at his company in North Miami. Half are remote, half are in the office. He leaves them all on Teams, during a 9-hour workday. So if I want to look at Jason and I see he's on the phone, if I want to look at Ryan, I just reach down, I click a button, and I realize you're not talking, and it connects you right there. I've already got a video image of you up and in front of me, and I can kind of tell what you're doing. So there's a perfect example of one way to address that remote issue, but still make people feel inclusive and that they're part of the team. And it works very effectively. I've actually got a screenshot. It looks like the Hollywood Square.
Right. I was going to say, just get a screenshot or just cover up your camera momentarily or do something like that, because, hey, I might not want them to see me, stuffing my face and eating. I'm going to be like this. And then it could be, so, and again, I think that's also, look, we're adults, or we should be, or we want to be treated like adults, or, the people I work with, they treat me like an adult and I treat them like an adult.
Right.
You're going out for lunch, you're going on a date, you're going for a run, you're sitting there in a towel. Like, I get it. You're working. Do your thing. Meet your deadlines. Get your billable work done. And the problem again is the interaction, and that's where I see things missing right now. There are so many opportunities to teach that are being lost, that look, even now, I just got a text from one of the guys that works with me saying, hey, when you have a couple minutes, I'd like to chat over this, as opposed to him coming down the hall. If we were both in the same spot, he'd see him on a Zoom and he'd wave at me and he'd be like, hey, I'll come see you later. On the flip side, I think I am able to get better talent by allowing for remote, because there are certain areas that people want to live, right? I'm up in the Coral Springs, Delray Beach area. I'm not saying there aren't phenomenal attorneys up here, but the young man that works with me, he's down in Miami. He doesn't want to live up here at this point in his life, but he's great talent. So I have to accommodate. So we only meet once or twice a month in person. What do you think about that perspective or that argument?
Well, I think that, there, by the way, you led us off by talking about the practice of law and legal recruiting. There are firms, we call them law firm 3.0. We call them distributed firms. We call them virtual firms. We have clients, multiple clients that are part of that segment. I will also tell you that they don't have a lot of associates. Their threshold is a partner level, $600 an hour, $500 an hour minimum bill rate, and the ability to work independently. And if you're a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, the chances of that happening, you're going to need some supervision. As Ryan said, you're going to need mentorship. You're going to need oversight. You're going to need coaching and strategy. Strategy is another big one. As well as I do, Jason, you're a litigator. When it comes to litigation, how do you approach this? What are the facts? What are our tacks? What should we do? How should we respond? And that's a very fluid, dynamic thing. And if you have associates involved in that, in person is better.
I agree because you can also know what you're both focusing on, right? If you're in person and you go into the conference room or you both close your laptops and you sit there and you put your phones on the other side of the table or let them charge, you're really focused. I don't care if you're on a Zoom, if you're on a podcast, if you're on a Teams meeting, if your phone goes ding, you're going to look. I'm guilty. I already did it twice because, like I said, the young man that I work with, we work together. He had 2 questions he had to text me. And I said, look, I'm on the radio show. Oh, sorry. Like that type of thing. But again, we've got to find that balance.
Well, I hit those 2 key points you mentioned with the remote. We have a client that's down in Miami right now. He does accounting, and what he's looking for right now is a forensic accountant, and the position itself is 100% remote. But we actually, while discussing with him, narrowed down him searching the country for the perfect forensic accountant to no, that's not going to work. You need somebody in the local area. So I highly recommend when hiring remote, you hire locally. And by locally, I don't mean like just in Florida or along those lines. I mean within a driving distance that if something pops up on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, you can come in. When it comes to the legal field, litigation's one aspect, but go a step further. Go to the thought of somebody prepping for like a trial. I couldn't imagine someone prepping for a trial and not everybody being in the same room going over everything till late hours of the night.
Well, look, and we're going to break for a commercial in a minute or two, but I will leave you this: that when I started my own law firm, 12 years ago, there was always people were saying, like, well, am I going to have to work weekends? Am I going to have to work late nights? Am I going to have to work this? And my normal rule was no. You have a normal work day. Weekends are yours, but there's an exception to every rule. If we're set for trial, if we have a big hearing on a Monday, if we have something, then yeah, we're going to be working late on a Friday. We're going to be on a weekend. And I think the same would apply if you're going to trial and you have a remote team, right? If you're going to trial and I'm sitting here in Florida and, an associate that's going to go to trial with me is in New Hampshire, I'm going to say to that associate, look, you want to go to trial, right? Yeah, well, you need to come down to Florida. I'll put you up for the week or come stay at my house for the week. We're going to trial together. Same thing would be like if I'm going up to trial with that associate in New Hampshire. I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to go up there for the week. So there's always that exception to the rule. I like your local thing, but that may narrow your candidate pool down. Now, if you're just looking for a litigator with 5 years of experience, they're all over the place. But if you're looking for a litigator who's handled SEC work and compliance and all of these things, well, you might only find that in New York City. So I don't know. We're going to go for a quick commercial break. But when we come back, one of the things I want to talk about is that multi-jurisdictional that I just mentioned, New Hampshire, New York, and how law firms are maybe dealing with that issue and the unlicensed practice of law and all that stuff. So I'll throw that out there and you guys will be 100% able to knock it out of the park. But we're going to go to a quick commercial break. It should only be 30 to 60 seconds. And we thank our sponsors for running a commercial. So run up the commercial. Let's see what we got this week. Boy, that was quick. New streaming network. Thank you so much. For those of you that weren't able to read it so fast, when you're watching the show, you can rewind it and watch it, but check it out. So again, I am an attorney. Nothing today is legal advice. Do not listen to anything I say because I'm not your attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. Rely on nothing I say. My kids will tell you that all the time. Don't listen to dad. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So back to the question, which was, get in that local market, right? I agree with that. I think that's good. But how are firms dealing with, okay, I hired a remote candidate and, I want that remote, candidate from New Hampshire to help me in my Florida file. What's going on with that? Where do you see that going?
Well, what you just mentioned before, you may not have somebody that does SEC filings or strict specific litigation. Right before the podcast, I got off a call with an attorney up in New York City, and they said, major city, and they were having issues, and the people he was speaking with, all his attorney friends were having issues hiring, and we're speaking New York City, the capital of the world. So as far as it goes with finding people in specific locations, it doesn't matter if you're in a major city right now or you're in the financial capital of the country, financial capital of the world. People are having issues throughout the country. So
what are they having issues with? Finding good talent?
Finding good talent. He still wanted someone to come into the office, but finding good talent, finding people that a lot of movement coming around right now. It's one of my major complaints when I speak with attorneys and I speak with firm partners is the amount of movement a lot of these associates have. And I do believe that does come because of the pandemic in some aspects. People had a lot more movement. And I do believe that a lot of completely remote candidates have more movement because they don't have the connection with the firm or connections with the partners right there. You're not a physical being. You're a computer screen.
But it's a catch-22, right? Because I hear all the time, I want to be remote. I don't want to go into the office. I don't want anybody looking over my shoulder. I don't want anything like that. But then they're not part of a team. They're siloed. They're sitting there all by themselves. So I don't know what the balance is, right? I don't have the answer. And what we say in the law, it might be on a case-by-case basis, right? Me personally, I'd love to go somewhere 1-2 days a week. And I have a home office that is great and phenomenal. I'd like to be here, 3-4 days a week. And, that's me. But then I work with people that they want to be in the office every day. And then I work with someone who never wants to leave his home. So I think it's just a line in the sand. Like, you must do this. You must be on one side. I think we've got to be flexible. And
we do. And that goes back to what Marko said before, flexibility. Now, if you say 2 days a week, now, if you say 5 days a week and you're in Coral Springs, your associate's in Miami, you say, I need you up in Coral Springs 5 days a week, that's not going to be a possibility. Nobody's making that drive.
Right.
If you say you have to be up in Coral Springs 2 days a week, that is a 43-mile commute on 95. It's horrible, but 2 days a week is possible, especially going south to north. I'd make that drive. It's not bad. Not fun.
And again, you could also be flexible with the times. Because when I did have that, I said to, Steph, the guy that works with me, I've said to him, hey, leave your place at 9 so you get here by 10. Avoid the traffic. And he's fine with that. Leave the office at 3:30 so you're home by 4:30.
And that does make a huge difference. In my mind, I have a meeting today at 5:15 down in Miami. To me, that's a horrible commute. I'd have to leave by 3 o'clock to make it.
I got an event tonight at 5:30 down in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to leave my place at 4 o'clock.
Yes. So, when you, like you said, the flexibility, the time ins, the time outs.
Yep.
We have a client in Aventura, and he's very flexible with the time in, times out, because he knows how difficult it is to make that drive.
Yeah. Yeah. And so where do you see, what do you see in the legal market right now? Because you said that, employers and employees, there's a lot of movement, and I hear in some of these chat rooms and on LinkedIn and people complaining, nobody's hiring, there's freezes. So I don't know. You guys are in the thick of it. What do you think?
I think you have to consider the role, the position, and the firm, right? If you're hiring a partner and he's overseeing a team of paraprofessionals, such as immigration and personal injury that are very administratively focused, that person has got to be in the office. If it's a, whatever you want to call it, more like an individual contributor, maybe a high-end litigator, or a cross-border international lawyer that already has clients. His clients, if they're calling from Mexico, and he doesn't have an associate, they may not really pay attention to where he is. He doesn't have to be in the office. So I think there's a lot of factors that play into it. Now, notwithstanding the fact that managing partners are looking at their balance sheet saying we're paying X amount of dollars for this Class A office space in downtown Charlotte, in Manhattan, in LA, in Texas, we want you to come in. And I love your concept earlier, Jason, about hoteling, especially in CPA firms that need a lot of bodies and a lot of people, and it's very repetitious work. I like the fact that, Jason checks in on a Tuesday and is out on a Wednesday. That way that they can plan accordingly. But I think you can't make a blanket statement. I think what you have to really consider is the level, the practice area, and the firm culture. Maybe sometimes firms just want a great office downtown and they've got small offices, in which case they encourage people to work remotely.
And look, I like working remotely. Like, I'm not going to lie, but one of the things that you guys touched on, and I think it's very important, and we can dive a little bit deeper into it, is, you get it's usually the associate, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's not a partner who is self-sufficient. It's usually the associate who is being fed work. Yep. It could be a partner too. So it's the individual who's being fed work to say, look, I get more work done sitting at my desk at home, and I get more of this and I get more of that. Okay. But what happens if you remove from the equation the rainmaker, right? If I decide to take my book of $1 million and leave, now the 3 associates that I'm feeding, if they have no work on their own, they're screwed. They're going to lose their jobs too.
So you better hope that partner takes them with them.
Or if you're in the office more frequently and you learn how to get business and you can go ahead and develop the relationship with that client, maybe that client doesn't leave with the partner, maybe they stay with you. That's where it's missing. And here's, I don't even have it with me. I was going to say my normal plug of my book, Shit They Never Taught You in Law School. I talk about that in the book, right? We're only as good as our book of business. That's a very important concept. If you can work and bill 10, 12 hours a day because you're sitting at home, that's great. But if you don't have someone feeding you that work, what are you going to do? And that's where the problem is. And that's where I think the legal profession is lacking when it comes to the younger generation coming in. That, I work at home, I get all my work done. Okay. What have you done for marketing? Nothing. What have you done to go get clients? Nothing. What happens when, the partner leaves or retires or we lose the client? Now what? I don't know.
Well, Marko and I know we both belong to networking groups, and I've invited a few associates down to my networking group periodically. And, the amount of attorneys in my chapter that are absolutely amazed when they see a under a year, 1-2 year attorney that are coming into a network group, coming into a BNI chapter to introduce themselves, are absolutely amazed. They're like, see, they want to go out and build. There it is.
There it is. Got the book. How to plug it. Hey.
One of the things right there is I think on both with, I have accounting background. One of the things they don't teach you in law school, one of the things they don't teach you when you're going to get, your taxation degree, is that you are in some cases a salesperson. You got to go sell yourself. You got to go sell your organization. And they don't teach you that in law school. They don't teach you that as an accountant, that you are a figurehead for your firm and business needs to be created. It just doesn't come out of the air.
Correct. And it takes time too. And people say to me all the time, and I remember Jesse Diner, David Mancuda, those were the 2 old school guys that were out there. They would always say, once you land your first client, it snowballs. It keeps going. And I used to always say, okay, I took care of my dad's speeding ticket and I took care of this. I still don't have clients. And then all of a sudden, before I knew it, I look back, I'm like, holy cow, doing 250,000. I'm doing 500,000. I'm doing 600,000. Like, wow, where did all this come from? And again, it's the snowball effect.
Well, I'll put it this way, and I'll build Marco's head up just a little bit here. I've been recruiting for over 10 years now. And when I started doing it, I worked in, they call it the pit. You sit there, a bunch of cubicles, everyone's smiling, dialing. All right. And one of the good things about that is you hear how these senior recruiters are speaking with people, how they're communicating. And you first come in there and you're very dry. Hi, my name is Ryan. I want to know if you want to work with me. No. And you get a little bit of a little build up there. You get more education. But it wasn't until I started working with Marko here that I learned that you need to have the one-on-one presence with clients in order for them to build trust, to build relationships, to go back and forth. Now, whether that be via Zoom or preferably on-site meeting with them, you build up that relationship. And they trust you. As you said, that's how the associate can convince, the client to stay when the partner leaves. Besides that, they're not going to stay with you. They don't know you. They know the partner. They know the person that's gone with them. And it took me working with Marko and him mentoring me in order to realize that I need to be in front of clients. I need to be in front of people. They need to see your personality. Because, the smiling, dialing recruitment field is, hi, my name's Ryan. You don't know me. Can I have your business?
Or it's, hi, my name is Ryan. I'm working with an AM 200 firm, and I saw your resume. It would be great. Oh, yeah, you saw my resume? Yeah. You would be great for the job. Oh, yeah? Where is it? It's Miami. I live in Alabama. Oh, yeah. They're okay with remote. And it's heavy in SEC filings. You know that I do family law and adoption law. Yeah. And that's what happens all the time. And I get it daily. I get an email daily. Hey, can you please respond to this inquiry? I didn't ask for it. Leave me the hell alone. So I agree. I'm not going to get to the flip side of that, because I've actually, was at places and the client would say, look, we came to the firm because of so-and-so's pedigree and resume, but you're the only one that's ever touched our file, and you're the only one that ever worked on our stuff. So if you're going, we're coming with you. And that was not an intended plan. It just so happened to work out that way.
That's one of the good things about knowing the market as well, too. I heard it from older people that say, yeah, I've had recruiters call me and be like, I can get you more money. And they're well, what do I make? Like, huh? Like, well, you told me you can get me more money, but you don't know what I make. And one of the good things about knowing the market is I can assume what you're making. Okay, you're making assumptions right there. You narrow it down. They're quite impressed at how accurate I am, but at the same time, we're going back to how law firms can keep staff. It's more than just salary sometimes. And flexibility is one of the main things we hear. Now, granted, I'm not going to take the $300,000 attorney and convince him to go to a $150,000 job. That's not going to happen. I don't care if it's remote. I don't care if it's hybrid. I don't care if they, give you cake every day.
Right. And I don't care about pizza and cake and happy hour after work, because that doesn't float my boat. Right. I want to go home. I want to be with my wife and kids. To me, that's important. The flexibility of, hey, you know what? Come in 2 days a week and, wear jeans and a t-shirt. We don't care. And work out of your house and log off the computer at 4:00 on a Friday. Like, those things are important.
Now, it is. And I think that flexibility comes with experience and comes with establishment. And by establishment, I don't mean just length of time. I mean, length of time you're with the firm, showing that you're putting in the hours, showing that, especially if you have bill rates. If you're billing on your days off, you're showing something. But one of the things I look at is I have a friend that's a teacher, and he even says today, these kids that were coming through like pandemic, they're awkward. They had 3 years where they didn't know anybody. The bar passage rates. Once the pandemic was lifted, the first class to take the bar after the pandemic, where all they had was on Zoom classes, the bar passage rate was 51.2%. Horrible. And you compare that to what it's back up to now. Now it's going a little bit better. It's 65. I think last year was 73%. We're talking a 20+% drop because of online classes.
Yeah, you're talking COVID kids, COVID dogs, COVID whatever. Like, there's a whole big thing down here in Florida with, Publix that, there's dogs walking around and there's dogs in restaurants and all this and all that. And yeah, look, when you got your dog and you were stuck at home, the dog had never been home by itself, like, ever. I'm not saying dogs belong in grocery stores, but that's the reason behind it, So I get it. And we're a changing world and we need to be flexible. And I think that from an employer and an employee standpoint, having hard lines in the sand, probably not great. Having lines that go like this is probably the way to do it. Look, you're not coming in today because you got a doctor's appointment. Hope you're well. Please, let me know when you're back in the system so I can bother you.
And on the other side, I can also argue the aspect of before we had the technology to work remote, before those other aspects. I remember growing up, when my father went on vacation, he went on vacation. There was no way to contact him. There was nothing to do with that. Okay, so if you want 100% remote work, you want 100%, being at home, not having to ever go in the office. This should be the flip side where, all right, well, then you're allowed to be contacted over the weekend. You're allowed to be contacted at night. I have candidates. I have clients that will call me up at night, will call me up over the weekend. It's because that's their time off. That's when they are available. So, the technology might have given us more flexibility, but it's also brought us into the fact that I went on a family vacation a couple of years ago. My father goes, "Do you ever put down your damn cell phone?"
Yeah. Same way. I'm constantly checking when I'm away. I'm constantly checking, constantly responding. And look, I tell the people I work with, people that work for me, people I work for, I said, look, if I email you on a Friday night or over the weekend, that's because of me. If I need an immediate response, I'm going to text you or call you. Hey, I'm so sorry to do this, but for the hearing Monday, I'm still missing this. Like, okay, sorry, I'm texting or calling. But hey, here's the motion. It's due Friday. I know I'm sending it to you on a Saturday night because I have no life. Please respond by Tuesday or Wednesday. A lot of times it's okay, no problem. Or Monday morning, someone will say, hey, I got it over the weekend. I'll work on it today.
I had a client on that note. They were doing an interview, and they were taking an interview while they were on vacation. And they were up, I remember to this day, they were up in Colorado, up in the mountains, rented an RV and went up there. And they were taking the interview for this candidate. And he goes, now I'm on vacation doing this because I own the firm. But we don't expect you to be on vacation doing these things.
Yeah.
So there is that second element.
I was traveling and I got set for a hearing. And I didn't have any choice. The judges like to set hearings for next day because they didn't have a problem. I had to run in Philly to the shops. I had to go to Brooks Brothers, buy a shirt, buy a tie, buy a jacket. And I still have the shirt and the tie and the jacket, but it's all good. But yeah, flexibility. That's where I see the market going.
I think it's so funny that you said you didn't buy pants.
I didn't buy pants. I actually had a pair of khaki pants with me because, I was up in Philly and I actually had a nice collared shirt, but I couldn't get a tie around it. So I said, forget it. And I kept everything except the jacket that I returned because I didn't like the feel, but it's not a snap one like you guys have. The Noodleberg jackets. That's what I call them.
That's funny.
So we're almost out of time. What I'll ask this question. AI, I'm sure you guys know all about AI. Where do you what you got your fingers on the pulse? Where do you see law firms and the law profession going with AI?
I mean, that's the event I have to go to. I'm supposed to go to Miami tonight for. It's Kodo Taco down in Miami. If anybody wants to go for AI discussions on AI. Mark, honestly, it sounds odd, but Marko in our team is the more one that wants to use it. I'm still, I guess, the old soul versus Marko, who's jumping into it. So
Marko, going into it, where do you think where do you think AI fits in the legal profession?
Well, I don't know that I have an opinion on inside of a law firm, but I can tell you that inside of a recruiting firm for law firms, it has a really big role. When you can automate LinkedIn, you can automate chats, you can automate discussions, you can give people basic information, and you can do it in volumes, then your chances of being able to connect with people on a much greater level is higher. As an example, some of these smart AI dialers will identify themselves as an AI bot to get basic information. And in our second business, which is virtual staffing, virtual recruiting, that website is chorus.io. here's a company that is providing legal services at a very, very reduced rate, that you're getting competent people that can work in a virtual environment to be able to help U.S. firms. So our part of our marketing outreach is to use AI to connect to the people that may be able to use those services.
And I think AI is phenomenal, but I think it's a tool. It's not a replacement. And when I mean that, I think it's like Batman's utility belt, or his, where he gets all his wonderful toys from. I think it's awesome for that. I don't think we're replacing Batman. We just might refill his belt. And that's the way it is. I mean, look, on LinkedIn, someone reached out to me the other day, and I was very intrigued. And then I responded, and we went back and forth. And then there must have been something wrong with AI or the algorithm, and it started the whole process again. I'm like, oh, AI, not dealing with this real person. And that was it. Left a sour taste in my mouth. And not only that, but I found the person on LinkedIn, and I reached out to him directly, used one of my premium credits, and said, hey, just letting you know, your AI, it's all over the place. And then all of a sudden I got bombarded. Same message like 8 times. I'm like, blocked. That's it. So you got to be careful with
it. Yeah, I like when it says hello first name.
Yep. Yep. Hello first name. Or my son gets it from recruiting for college. Hello, Logan. And then he gets the same email, hello, Weiss. Well, he's Logan Weiss, but okay. So Now Hiring You. Find these guys. They will help you if you're in the legal field and you want to, make a change. You want to see what's out there. You want to learn some of the stuff. You want to hear about some of the virtual stuff that Marko mentioned. Now Hiring the letter U.com for those that are just listening. And you can find Marko at Marko at Now Hiring the letter U.com. So Marko at NowHiringU.com and NowHiringU.com for the website. They happen to be in South Florida, but not limited to the South Florida market. You can find them all over the place. Known Marko for years. I will vouch for him. Hopefully he vouches for me too, but that's another story for another day. And gentlemen, I thank you so much. This has been great. And hopefully people reach out and pick your brain, and everybody can make money. Thank you so much for being here. Don't go away, gentlemen. The show is going to end, but stick around so we can do a debrief afterwards. That's the beauty of Zoom.
Sounds great, Jason. Thank you for having us.